it seems the bad news for TNA and Dixie Carter and those involved just doesn't seem to stop. You know, when I did the video recently of TNA not being able to catch a break, now with Billy Corgan suing them, you think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. Because it seems that now, since Billy Corgan has decided to sue the company, other people that are owed money by TNA are coming out as well. The biggest one of all being the state of Tennessee, and mostly the county in Tennessee that TNA operates out of, or used to operate out of. Now, the way this is going is the state of Tennessee is suing. That was my alarm going off. But anyway, from what I understand, basically the state of Tennessee filing a lawsuit, a tax lien, if you will, against TNA Entertainment LLC. And from what I understand, even though they now are under the name Impact Ventures LLC, they could still, this injunction, this lawsuit, this money, this debt that is owed to the state, they are able to go back under any former name that the company used to be, working under, and still go after them. So even though TNA Impact Wrestling is under Impact Ventures now, it's still connected to TNA Entertainment LLC. So they still basically, so because of that connection, even though it's under a different LLC now, that's still, like I said, that's still a connection to TNA overall as a whole. So even though they've changed to Impact Ventures, it still affects them. And then that's not all. You have people like Eric Bischoff, who says he was owed money, coming out now and saying he's going to coming out and probably going to do filing as well. I mean, you got all these people that are owed money. And like I said, the biggest one coming out of this being the state of Tennessee. But the question could be, why? Why has this happened? Why is TNA owing so much money? And it's real simple. You could have all the respect for Dixie Carter, and in a sense, I do have some respect for her, being the only woman out there to majorly own her own pro wrestling company today, in today's world. I respect her for that, but I don't respect some of the decisions, apparently, from what I understand, she has made. I mean, yes, I get you want to give the fans what they want. Fans, we want Cody Rhodes in TNA. Okay, you want Cody Rhodes? I'll get you Cody Rhodes. Oh, we want Damien Sandow in TNA. Oh, you want Damien Sandow? Okay, I'll get you Damien Sandow. It's one thing to do that. It's one thing to do that. And you want to give the fans what they want. But it's another to put getting top tier or mid-top tier or upper-top tier talent or just mid-card tier talent into your company just so you could strap a belt on them and say, hey, look, they became a singles champion in our company and your company couldn't even do that. Or the former employer couldn't do that. One thing to do that, but it's another not to really focus on what truly is needed. And what truly is needed is to focus on the talent that wants to establish their craft, the talent that works on the indies, that wants to come into your company, get noticed, make a name for themselves, and then maybe use that as a stepping stone to the WWE down the line. They do not, and I repeat, do not want to be overlooked because, we're just going to focus on other people. That's not what you do. It's not what you do. And what's even crazier about this is a lot of people say look at a lot of people, they're not surprised that things like this are happening. I mean, Deluxe Man is even getting in on this when he did a video yesterday. And he basically used a good example. It's like TNA is that kind of ship that will sink under the water, but then somehow rise back up and float and continue to float. Yeah, it's like that ship that will go under the water, stay under for a little bit, and then be brought back up, and have and have a few minor fixes made to it, and it's functional again. It's workable again. And he's right. It's basically, that's what it is. But now it's getting to a point that was no disrespect. No disrespect. Honest to God, no disrespect. It's like the bottom, it's like that bottom, it's like that part of the Titanic that according to movies, according to several historical movies who try to get it accurate, and to some historians, by eyewitnesses that did survive, it bobbed. That part of the Titanic, that half of the Titanic, while the other half went down to the bottom of the ocean, with no disrespect. No disrespect. TNA is like that right now. It's like that half of the Titanic that's still bobbing above the surface, but it's getting ready to slowly go under. And when it does, it's going to do exactly like that. It's going to go straight down. Right now, like I said, it's like the Titanic where one half is already sunk to the bottom and the other half's just bobbing on top with no disrespect. No disrespect in bringing that up. But that's what it is. That's what TNA is right now. And Dixie Carter refuses to acknowledge that. I mean, she basically, blatantly, in a sense, lied to her talent in the more recent meeting. When you think about it, she blatantly lied to them, saying, the pay-per-view was going to go off without a hitch. BS, Dixie, with all due respect, girl, that's complete BS and you know it. The truth, what you should have said to your talent, Dixie, is, yes, Bound for Glory was on the verge of not happening. Yes, I did get a third party to help us finance it. And yes, this is what she should have done. She should have basically told her talent. She should have told Billy Corgan, because this is part of the reason he's suing them. She should have told him, this is who funded us. This is how it happened. And I guarantee you, the talent would have either been mad at her and wanted to walk, or the talent would have tolerated it, probably swallowed the pride, forgave her, but then point out, look, Dixie, we love you. We respect you've been running this company for so long, but it's time to step away and let Billy take over. Maybe that wouldn't have happened, but maybe it would have if she would just tell the truth. And you know what? All these names that are brought up in this lawsuit by Billy Corgan, from Dean Braunhead, who's a financial officer, CFO, financial officer, basically someone in charge of the finances, shouldn't he be the one that makes sure the money gets distributed to the talent so they get paid on time? Shouldn't he be the one that makes sure all those people that are owed money get paid? So if a majority of this is going to fall on anybody besides Dixie, it's going to be him. It's going to be him because basically he doesn't know how to financially work with money, or he's someone that does know how to work with money, but work with it in a way that benefits him more than anybody else. So like I said, if anybody's going to get the brunt of this besides Dixie, it's going to be him. And we're either going to find out whether or not that they did have the money and he just didn't want to distribute it, maybe because he's not really a fan of wrestling, I don't know. Or we're going to find out that he laundered it someplace else. Something's going to come out about this, and it's not going to be good. And I guarantee you the court of Tennessee, they're going to side with Billy. They're going to say, Dixie, you either have one or two choices. You watch your company fold up and die and put every man and woman out of a job to the point that they may not know when they get booked again, or they may have to go back to work for the former employer, and they don't want to do that. Or what you do is you sell the company for what you can to Billy, let him revamp it, let him rebrand it, and then use that money to pay us back. Pay back the state of Tennessee, pay back Eric Bischoff, and everybody else you owe money to. And that's the more logical way of doing it. It is. That's the more logical way of doing things. I mean, don't you think so? I mean, if I'm Dixie Carter, and it's probably going to happen this way. I get an order from the one of the courts of Tennessee, maybe the Supreme Court of Tennessee, and they tell me, hey, you need to pay back this money, or else you need to pay back this money, and you need to find a way to do it, or else you might end up in jail, or something like that. If I'm Dixie Carter, my smart decision, and again, the Supreme Court of Tennessee, they might even say this. The County Court or the Supreme Court of Tennessee, they might say this. They might say, look, you have a choice. You sell the company to Billy, then you use it to pay off any debt you owe us, any debt you owe Eric Bischoff, or any of these other people you owe money to, and partners you owe money to, and then just leave it be. Just leave the wrestling business, because obviously in 12 years or 14 years, you haven't learned a damn thing. I'm not necessarily saying that they would say that, but some judges sometimes, they can be very strict. They can be, some judges, let's be honest, they can be very strict. They can be very strict, some judges, and they can be, they can be straight on and right to the point. They can be hard. They have, they could do great jobs. I mean, why do you think some people like Judge Judy? Because even though she's a good person, maybe, I'm not really saying she is or not. That all depends on your point of view. When you watch her and you see some of the cases she takes on, whoo boy, does she ever drive it home? Does she ever get in the face of the people in that court, in that, involved in that case? And I guarantee you, other judges are like that too. And it's probably going to be similar to this situation with Dixie. She's going to get She's probably going to have a judge. She's probably going to end up getting a judge, whether it's with her case against, whether it's Billy's case against her or the state's case against her or whoever. She's going to get a judge. I guarantee you, it might be with Billy's. It's going to be like a Judge Judy that's going to be straightforward with her. And it's going to be straightforward. It's going to look her dead in the eye, be straightforward with her and say, hey, you either have one. She's going to be like, hey, you got one or two choices. You either sell this company for what you can to Billy Corgan, because he's offered you to do so, pay him, and thus, at the same time, pay him back what you owe, or watch your freaking company go out of business and put all these men and women out of jobs. I guarantee you, she'll get a judge that's very similar in some ways. And I know a lot of people would say, hey, she deserves no better than that. Or some of you might say, well, it would serve her right if she got a judge like that. And it probably does. But you see, this is a mess that Dixie Carter shouldn't have got. Dixie Carter and TNA, those in charge of the financial situation, whether it's Dixie, her husband, Dean Braunhead, or whoever, shouldn't have gotten themselves into if they just would have done things the right way. And here's what's going to happen. She's going to end up in court, like I said. She's going to be given that choice to either sell the company for what she can to Billy and use that, or she's going to have the option of watching her company fold and die and people going out of, having no jobs. That's literally the truth. That's literally the truth. Because, like I said, that's literally the truth. And if I'm Dixie Carter, and let's say I try to find a way to settle this out of court with both sides, then fine. Try your best to find a way to do that. But if I'm Dixie Carter, I make the right decision. I make the decision that, hey, if I do care about this company, I'll sell what I can to Billy, and I'll use that money to pay off any debts I owe, or at least start paying off the debts I owe, and then go from there. And with all due respect to Dixie Carter, if I'm her after this is all said and done, and I guarantee you a judge might say this to her, whoever she gets, I just step away from the wrestling business and never look back. In other words, get yourself out of this business, because apparently in 14 years, you haven't learned anything. So, again, that might be what happens. But my honest opinion is this is definitely not good. This is, like I said, this is basically right now a situation where TNA, Impact Wrestling, is like that bottom half of the Titanic that's still bobbing with no disrespect, no disrespect, is like that bottom half of the Titanic that's bobbing, just barely bobbing and staying afloat on the Atlantic Ocean before getting ready to slowly or quickly submerge underwater. That's what it is right now to me. And it's a shame. Because like a lot of people, I loved watching TNA. I recorded several episodes of TNA on DVD. Heck, I would go through torrents to download and then eventually record through a DVD recorder some of their TNA pay-per-views. Heck, I watched, ladies and gentlemen, the first two, actually the second, I should say, TNA pay-per-view broadcast, weekly pay-per-view broadcast, where AJ Styles became the first X Division champion. I recorded that on a tape somewhere I left in Kansas, but I recorded that. So it shows you I had an interest in TNA. Heck, it was through the fact that TNA was associated with the NWA at a time, and even afterwards, that I went and saw and met a lot of these TNA stars at Central States Wrestling. Whether it was Raven when he was champion, whether it was AJ Styles. Yes, I did meet AJ Styles. He called me the man with 1,000 questions when I went to take my picture with him in the ring. I've met Samoa Joe. I've met Abyss. I have met Christopher Daniels, Sanjay Dutt. The list goes on. It was all through that connection TNA had with the NWA. And you know what's funny? Some people may not believe this, but when one thinks about it right now, ever since they disassociated themselves from the NWA, I think that's when the problems started to slowly rise a little bit. They started to slowly rise. I'm not joking here. I am not joking. They started to slowly rise there. I think that's when it started to happen. Maybe not as much, but it started to get there. I mean, and these problems that were just slowly, like just a few of them, just like a slow afterthought maybe, that were kind of like slowly manifesting themselves, but not to the point that you had to worry, just rapidly grew into a monster or into a vine that was overtaking some kind of moss, some kind of vine or moss that was overtaking the whole company. It really started to manifest itself. It really started to get noticed. It really started to overtake TNA when they brought in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. And what happened? I tell you what happened. For a few months, the people associated with Hulk Hogan through his Hulkamania tour, they went over. Yeah. Some were okay going over, some weren't. I mean, let's be honest. You had, what? You had Sean Morley, Val Venus, still trying to keep up, still trying to do his Val Venus character under his real name. You had Sean Morley beat Christopher Daniels at Genesis of 2010. Really? You had the Nasty Boys in a dream matchup go over Team 3D at Against All Odds. Okay? What sense did that make? I mean, I understand you want to try to establish them as names for your company, but for TNA, they'll establish them as names in TNA, but what happened to them afterwards? They disappeared. The only people that remained for a while were Rob Van Dam. And what did you try to do? What did you try to do during this whole Hogan-Bischoff run? You tried to recreate WCW. Mid-90s WCW. That's what you tried to do. You tried to recreate the NWO with Immortal. You tried to recreate the Four Horsemen with Fortune. And did it work? No. It did not work. Yeah, you got a reaction in Daytona Beach at Bound for Glory that year, but it did not work. And why? Because people saw through it, and that's why TNA turned Hogan face the following year. because they knew people didn't like seeing a rehash of the NWO. I mean, heck, you tried to rehash it with the band, and that didn't work. Heck, you tried to refresh the band by adding Eric Young to the mix. Didn't work. And Immortal, that was a disaster. Because after Jeff Hardy had his infamous moment at Victory Road, you had a revolving door of, who do we make our next face of Immortal? Oh, let's make Mr. Anderson part of Immortal. Here's a guy that fought against you, and now you're making him the face of your damn group, of your NWO-like group. Like, here's Mr. Anderson. He's the new Hollywood. Or, when that failed, who do we get? Oh, let's get Kurt Angle, a guy that fought against you for most of your existence. It's just a poor rehash of a lot of things. It's a poor rehash of and what do we get out of this? What do we get? We got a lethal lockdown, 2 lethal lockdown pay-per-views. One in 2010 that was Hogan Flair continued their rivalry. Oh, and they even fought in the freaking match in TNA. Not saying they didn't fight on the Hulkamania tour, but I'm just saying. Oh, and then later on, and then what? The following year we had what? TNA, Lethal Lockdown, Bischoff against Bischoff. Seriously? Seriously? I'm just saying. Seriously? What, the following year? No, actually, was it the following year or so? And what did we get out of it? Huh? What, we got Fortune against Immortal in a Lethal Lockdown match. Then what did we get? The following Lethal Lockdown, the following year, we had Bischoff against Bischoff. I mean, seriously. And then even between this run, you tried to recreate the ECW deal. What, EV 2.0? Seriously? These are the problems and decisions that plague TNA and have become some of the main reasons TNA is in the situation it is now. You cannot make decisions that you feel are going to benefit your company. Because all it makes it, it's going to benefit your company because you felt, oh, it did wonders for WCW. It'll do wonders for us. Oh, yeah. Let me ask you this. How long did TNA remain on Monday nights? Not that very long before they realized, oops, we made a mistake. You think they could have stepped on the brakes there, backed up and realized, you know what, maybe this whole Hogan-Bischoff situation is not working out well. Because if you knew right from the beginning what was going to happen, or if you planned it out and said, yeah, we're going to conclude this year with an NWO ripoff, a knockoff called Immortal. Think that was going to work? Do you think looking at it from when you first started, you think it was going to work and realize it wasn't? No. It wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work because people had seen it before. They knew what was going to happen. That's why they didn't take to it. Because of decisions like that really hurt TNA. But it's not just decisions like that. It's also decisions to book in freaking venues you have no business booking in. I mean, WWE is bringing the Royal Rumble back to the Alamo Dome next year. And there's no doubt they're going to sell that place out. And they have and you know what? They have a legit reason for wanting to sell it all out. A legit reasoning to put the freaking ring in the middle of the damn stadium. They have a reason. What reason did TNA have? Oh, that's right. They wanted to break a record. Oh yeah, they broke a record all right. But they only were able to do so by tapering off 90% of the freaking arena. That is the worst decision you can make. Why book a venue like the Alamo Dome, which I admit was an impressive feat. It got people talking for a little bit. But why book it if you're only using 10% of the arena? I mean, even WCW during its NWA days and its early days would book something like a dome or dome-like stadium. And yeah, they may not sell it out, but they had the smarts to darken out the areas that didn't sell out to look like it was huge. It looked like it was a big-time event. But did TNA do that? No. And that's one of the one of the stupid decisions they made. Well, having Bischoff and Hogan around. Let's be honest. I am a Hulkamaniac. I've been a Hulkamaniac, a fan of Hulk Hogan since I was a kid. Who hasn't? And I have respect for Bischoff. He is trying to change. He sounds like he's becoming a changed man. He's looking back at the mistakes he's made. But here's the thing. As much as I'm a fan of Hogan, and as much as I respect Eric trying to change and look back at the mistakes he made and realize he made, and basically now realizing he shouldn't have made them. Realizing he shouldn't have made them. Because she had them around, Dixie Carter had the stupid ideas to book a 70,000 seat stadium or dome and only use 10% of it for her event. And did she get any return on that? Well, yeah, she got a record-breaking crowd. But did any of the men and women get any return on that? Did Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan get any return on that? Who knows? That might be some of the reason. That might be the reason Bischoff wants to take her to court. The fact of the matter is, it was decisions like that have haunted and still haunt and hurt, that have haunted and hurt and still haunt and hurt TNA to this day. And it's some of the reasons they're in the situations they are. I had no problem of them going to places like the Family Center. I had no problem with them going to that arena they did in North Carolina last year for Bound for Glory. I have no problem with them going to the Grand Canyon University arena. These are all venues that are perfect for them. But you know what really should have made us realize TNA was on the verge of going through some drastic change and maybe not for the better? Was when they did the Bound for Glory show 2 years ago. They did the Bound for Glory show in Tokyo, Japan. Somewhere on the outskirts of Tokyo. But like I said, and I'm sorry for the interruption there, my dog senses something outside. I don't know what it is she senses. But anyway, it might be just somebody walking around or something. But anyway, like I was saying, the one thing, and we should have saw this coming, because TNA had Bound for Glory 2 years ago in Tokyo, Japan, or at least on the outskirts of it. And they couldn't even afford to bring the six. Like I said, I think we should have saw this coming 2 years ago when Bound for Glory was in Tokyo, Japan, or at least on the outskirts of it. And on the outskirts of it, wherever that was, they did sell out the venue. But they couldn't even afford to bring their own six-sided ring over. They couldn't afford to bring over their own production. And their taping schedule was so off course with this, it was not funny. Samoa Joe and Jessica Havoc were not even the champions at the time this aired. No. They had lost the belts already in TV tapings. So they weren't officially the champions. But apparently TNA decided, apparently TNA decided, we're promoting a Knockouts title match. We're promoting a three-way X Division title match. So, here you go, Jessica. Here you go, Joe. Here are the replica belts. Go and defend them in Tokyo so no one's the wiser. Bullshit. I'm sure Low-Key and who was it? Who was involved in that match as well? I can't remember. Who was it? Yuji Nagata? No, that wasn't him. Oh, Kaz Hayashi. I think that's who it was. I'm sure Low-Key and Kaz and I'm sure Velvet all thinking to themselves, seriously? So you're having them defend fake championships against us, or replica championships against us. That's what you're doing. This is what you got planned for us to have So you're planning to basically have us do the title matches even though they're not legit title matches. Go figure. And I'm sure this is one of the reasons Havoc didn't want to come back to that company, because pretty much she's like, really? You're making me defend a championship I just lost. You guys are pathetic. I'm sure it's one of the reasons Joe left too. He's like, I'm dealing with this crap. I mean, you don't even, and what is your main event? What's your main event? Your main event is a tag team match. The Revolution, Sonata and James Storm against Tajiri, who, oh, by the way, made a return to WWE in the Cruiserweight Classic, and the Great Muta. No disrespect to either of those competitors, but that's more of a co-main event than a main event. I mean, you can't even get your champion, who was it at the time? Bobby Lashley, I think. He was champion at that time, first reign or something. You couldn't get him over because of his commitments to Bellator? And that's another decision. Why make a champion, why make somebody your world champion or champion of any kind if he has commitments to another organization, if not another sport in general? Does not make sense. The point is, TNA has made so many bad decisions, external and internally, that it's come back to hurt them and haunt them in a way that this could be it. The last Impact taping that's going to take place, of all places, the Hardy Compound in Cameron, North Carolina, could be it. No wonder they're freaking calling it total nonstop deletion, because after that, TNA's dead. Pretty much it. After that, TNA is dead. I hate to say it. I never thought I'd say it, but they are dead after that. TNA is history. They are kaput unless Dixie Carter says, okay, Billy, you win. Here's the company. Rebrand it. Rename it. I'm gone. I'm done. Because if she doesn't, total nonstop deletion won't just be the title for an episode of Impact. It'll be the freaking acronym for TNA's demise. Their tombstone's going to say, here lies TNA Wrestling, TNA Impact Wrestling, 2002 to 2016. Well, it's going to say, what was it, June something 2002 to December, what was it? What would it be? 15th, maybe? 15th, 22nd, 2016. And it's going to say reason of death, total nonstop deletion. That's what's going to happen. It said cause of death, a total nonstop deletion. That's what it's going to say on that tombstone. Or it's going to say something like from 2002 to 2016, cause of death or cause of demise, majority owner didn't know how to do business. And look, I'm not saying women can't make successful business people, cannot make successful business owners. They can. And the right women, the right business women that have the right mind for the business, the wrestling business, can make successful transitions. They can make successful transitions and make successful companies. Dixie, in nearly 15 years, has not really done that. And I hate to say that. So all I'm going to say is this. Dixie, if you're listening, do the right thing for those working for you and for the fans. Do the right thing. Let TNA sell what you can to Billy Corgan, let him rebrand it, and then do the right thing by using that money to pay off all the debts you own, and then quietly walk away, Dixie. Just get out of the wrestling business and never look back. It would probably be the best decision you make, Dixie, for everybody. So that's all I'm going to say, folks, on the situation with TNA. And I will say this. If things don't change, expect mid-December to be a real total nonstop deletion of TNA. So that's all I'm going to say, folks. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. I'm out.